Welcome to Season 3 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of breaking generational curses, spiritual ties, while we live in our purpose, and to become one with our higher selves through breaking chains of poverty consciousness and understanding the power of attraction, and always aiming to be better versions of ourselves and vibrating in our frequencies. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child. And in everything else in between, I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Welcome back to yet another episode of Unspoken Truth, Navigating Love, Expectations versus Reality, Part 2. And I'm joined by Len, who will share his male perspective. So let's jump into the topic, Navigating Love, Expectations versus Reality. So initially, half the time, we always say people must introduce themselves, but Len has decided to stay anonymous. Okay, so we're going to respect Len. All he's going to do is share his views and his points, and we love to hear from what males have to say. So as we dive in into this expectations versus reality, I've got a scenario here. So I have this thing that I have in my head where I generally want my partner coming from work to pick me up, embrace me, hold me, cuddle me, and be like, I missed you, I want to see you, I waited to see you all day. But I've never voiced it out. I expect it to be done, but in reality, it never happens because I've never communicated it. Then I've got this thing where every time I'm washing dishes, I expect him to come and hold me, embrace me, whisper something in my ears, something gentle as I do some house chores. It's all in my head. It's an expectation. But in reality, I've never voiced it. Okay, so we're navigating love. And we all know that as women, we have these expectations that we need from our other halves. And sometimes we're so bad in communicating it. And sometimes maybe we are communicating it, but how we're communicating it, we're not being heard or understood. So I wanted to open this platform for me and Lan to have this discussion of what his views are, his male perspective on love, navigating love, expectations, and reality. What's your story? How do you see this?
I think the biggest problem that we have within communication, one is comprehension. Two is oversharing and thinking it is communication. And as men, we don't understand, we basically can navigate between venting, expressing, and communicating. Because some things you could be communicating so that I get to understand them. Some of the things you're venting so that I just sit there and keep quiet and say, I understand. And I feel your pain, I empathize with you, and it's going to be okay. And then at some point, you want me to respond. And when I respond, you want me to be in the same emotional state that you're in. So in most cases, emotions are not expressed by most women because they think that men would understand them in the same way emotionally, whereas we don't. We more on the physical, logical perspective. As much as a woman's energy is to settle, male's energy is movement energy. And if you check, you guys always talk about consistency. Now, in terms of consistency, you say you would like this, you would like this, so you'd like this, and you see me doing these things and you like them. Now, when I start tweaking them, it becomes a questionable thing that, are you sure you want to do this? Won't you be questioned why you changed it? So there's no surprise.
Do you even still love me? Do you even still love me?
Because we stick to consistency. And I believe men are the most inconsistent human beings. Because with growth, we get to change, and our change is in the physical form in every way than women being more psychological and more emotional. So that's what gives us an issue with navigation and navigating communication. Also, there's an expectation of men should understand the emotional state with women. And men are saying, I want my woman to understand the mental state. And he doesn't share because he feels that he needs to solve it first and then share that this was the problem and this is the way, this is how I found the way out, this is where I need your support. However, with women, it's this is where I am and this is where I am. And
On period.
there's no communication about how I got there. There is just this is what I am. So that's where the communication gets to break down with expectations.
So are you saying that males have no expectations, they just live in reality? Is that what you're saying?
Men do have expectations, and they always communicate them. A man would say, uh, actually, our communication is more in validation, that when you do something, and in appreciation, that when you do something, I like it when you do this, I like it when you cook this way, I like it when I get home and the house is clean. We mention these things. However, they're taken as, oh, it's a bonus, so I can only do it when I feel happy. And when he says he likes it that you're doing that, he means this is one of the reasons why he kept the relationship.
But then
Because we
yet
keep the
again, you
relationship.
see what you're saying then goes back to we can remain consistent in the things that we do. We can show up constantly giving
Yeah.
you what you deserve and what you like. But then there's then that we then don't get it in return because males are not consistent. So then how do we navigate love in consistency? How do we meet these expectations and reality? Because I believe that expectations and reality can meet each other halfway. And
I
knowing
think
very well that women can be consistent in giving this love that is needed by their partner, but their partner can't be consistent because they're ever changing and they're always logical. Where's
I think
the in between?
the biggest lie that we were told is that planning things in a relationship or planning things about love, sorry,
A recipe for
is
disaster.
boring. Yeah, it's boring.
Oh
Let's
yes, it's
let's
mundane.
go
Yeah,
with the
yes, yes,
flow.
yes.
Yeah, let's go with the flow. And this is mostly from women. Let's go with the flow. I like it when I'm being surprised. Those random acts. No, it doesn't work that way. Because the truth of the matter is that in loving, your actions are a choice. So if my actions are a choice, when I go to work, I don't choose to have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get home, I'm still, that day is still over my shoulders, and your expectation is this, and it wasn't communicated. However, if we say on Wednesdays are massage days for you, no matter how I may feel, on my way back, I'm treating my mind that this is Wednesday and this is what I have to do. So I choose to do it because remember, loving is an act of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So now I choose to do this. And when I do it because I love you, and when I'm doing it out of love. No matter how angry I may be at you and about you, it
Mm-hmm.
gets to a point where what I do reminds me why I chose you. I
Mm-hmm.
chose to be with you. I chose to love you. So it has to go with planning. So if
But
there's
then
certain
won't it
things,
then become like an obligation than it is love? Because would we say that love is supposed to be like water, very free flowing, but when you start putting plans in it, it becomes obligations that need to be met?
that's where that's again another lie that we've been told, that when you plan it, it becomes an obligation. When you choose to do something, when you go to gym, is it an obligation? Or
No,
when
it
you
was a
choose,
choice.
let's say you choose one discipline,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to show up for it, whether you're tired, whether you're feeling otherwise, and that's when you're sick. So that's where love spreads out from discipline. The first form of showing love is being disciplined. That when you say that on Wednesdays, we are going to pray before we go out. Wednesday are prayer days, and then we go out to have space where we can talk about everything. That
Mm-hmm.
becomes a ritual. It's an obligation. It's not. However, if it has to do with, I would say, physical touch
Mm-hmm.
or sort of an expression to the next one, it becomes, that's where now we start putting the word obligation.
Obligation.
If I say on Wednesday we are going to talk about our feelings, how this week has been, how we have let you down, and we have upsetted you. But first we're going to pray, and then we go out for dinner. And then at the dinner table, that's where we talk about these things. This becomes a healing process for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it's something that we planned. It has no obligation. No matter how bad my day may have been at work, I may have a fight we may have a fight in the morning. I just know
Mm-hmm.
that because it's Wednesday today, we are going to talk about everything.
Yes.
When we're talking
And then
about
that's where that
finances,
consistency comes in again.
exactly. So we are not obligated, but we are in a space where we're saying we are practicing our love even when we're not in love. Because when you say something becomes an obligation, that means when I'm not in love, I can't do things that I do for you when I'm in love with you.
Mm.
So I'm not
Mm.
choosing to love you. And this is where I think most relationships get to lose it. We don't understand commitment. We don't understand what loyalty is. We don't understand discipline.
We don't understand it,
So
or we choose not to.
I
Would
think
you
it's
say?
I think it's more of an understanding because people believe in this fictional love, unconditional love, which is fictional, and one should always be in love to be doing something great for their partners.
So you're saying
If
unconditional love is fictional,
unconditional love is fictional,
but then why
unconditional.
would you want to put conditions in love?
So the conditions are based on my choices because when I say I love Anita and this is where I want to be with Anita, the condition is that what is Anita feeding for me to choose to love her? So if Anita stops giving that love, what am I going to do? That's another condition. That if Anita stops reciprocating, what am I going to do? I chose to be with her and I choose to commit with her. So now I need to start finding a way to light her love back. So that's a condition again. I have to change that so that the spark comes back from her. Then she starts reciprocating again. So there's no such thing as conditional love because if there was conditional love, we would have to close our eyes and ears and let our heart guide us to whoever
Yeah.
feels close to you and say, there's a connection. And then we open our eyes and
Because I
say,
feel like if we
yeah,
say that there is nothing like unconditional love, then that means it would be easy for us to then, fall apart as unions and couples. Because if we put certain boundaries and conditions of how we want to be treated, then generally if somebody is not faithful or somebody has done something, then it has to end. Because if your condition is I cannot deal with cheating, that means I must have no room for forgiveness. That's what it means if you put conditions.
so if I don't put conditions, then you can go out cheating and say, but I love you. You can't
I
leave me
think it's
because
a
I love you.
win-lose. I feel like it's a
Yeah.
win-lose
So,
situation here.
so, so the unconditional love for your children, let me give you, that's where we only have unconditional love. Your child always fails you. Your child, no matter how great your children may be, children always get to fail us because we have certain teachings that we give them, and then they break them, and they break these rules because human evolution and certain things change, and they don't change as we would desire, but it's for their growth.
But
And
it's
when
also
we
our
get these disappointments,
expectations. It's our
and
expectations
when
versus those realities.
uh, so when we get these disappointments, what do? We open up to more loving. We open up to communication so that we get to understand them. So that is no condition. Now, a partner that puts you in a space where you're unable to reciprocate, you're unable to move the way your love guides you, and you're unable to give them the kind of love that they want because of what they feed you. Would you still be saying you'd be committed to that person?
I don't know. I don't
Mm,
know.
that is why the state of having to get married, when you say, I choose this person, it's because you have seen what could spark their love back, even when they're not in love with you. You know what practice to do, or you know what rituals to do with them so that it sparks the light back. So with unconditional love, that means from the first day that we meet, it just spark. I don't know how you handle anger, how you handle conflict and all that. And then I'm supposed to stay because it's unconditional. So I create all these conditions because there's different seeds of loving. It's either you love from a need, you love from a desire, you love from the setting of giving, you love from the point of missing, or trauma. There's different chairs that we sit on when we're loving, and someone could have different 9 chairs. And when she reciprocates, I'm sitting in the chair of maybe she reciprocating, maybe heals my trauma. So I do more so that she reciprocate more, and then I'm able to say all the things that I did in my childhood that were not given back, I'm getting them here.
Mhm.
So it is conditional. There are certain conditions that are there for our loving.
But I think I would beg to differ when we had to compare love with our partners and love with our children. Love with our partners, like you said, it's a choice. Love with our children is born deep. I don't think any scientist or doctor can ever explain that type of love. It's love that even when you're called a father or a mother, you know, um, we also don't know as parents why this love remains consistent, why this love exists. Even if they disappoint us 100 times, we still choose our kids over and over and over again. So I feel like that one is a different type of love that we can never put it on a platform of love that we actually chose. That we were like, okay, I choose to love this person. I choose to navigate love with this person. With our kids, it's not really a choice. Even it's a and it's not even an obligation either. It's a you wake up to do it effortlessly.
Now, now I have a
Effortlessly so.
question. Now I have a question. Does that love hit in a different spot than the love of a partner? No, it still hits you in the stomach.
It still
It
does.
still hits.
Yes, it turns your stomach upside down.
So it's still love either
Mhm.
way. The difference is that when we are in a relationship, we choose.
Yes.
We choose.
Because I
So
don't want
those
it to
choices,
I don't want us to narrow that also with that, with having that example of true, because there are people who are in unions and were never blessed with kids. There are people who decided not to have kids. So I that's why I'm trying to also remove that, because what happens then to a person who's never felt that type of love, who doesn't
then
know
they
that
have.
type of love? They have this love of choice, you
Then I would
know?
say for people in that space, their love is I would associate it with that one friend, be it that friend is their parent, be it that friend is their teacher or the closest friend that they have, that the friend gets to fail them, and at some point maybe the friend never apologizes, but however they still keep back to watering that plant.
Those
That
are
plant
big.
does not
I
give
would
you
say
fruit.
those are bigger people. I cut off people that hurt me. Ah, I
Look,
eliminate. I assassinate. Those are my
look,
conditions.
there
I
are friends,
assassinate.
there are friends that we can't even cut off because you feel that they are like a part of you. They are your brother or your sister, no matter
They
how
become
angry you may be
family.
at them. Yeah.
Yes, they
So
become
some
family.
people get some people get to have that. So I would relate it to that. Also, when it comes to that, it has no condition because these people get to break those lines, those barriers that you made as your to say that this is the line, this is the boundary, you don't cross this, and they get to cross it. And you don't even have to wait for their apology. Somehow you get to understand that, oh, this person, by the way, has went through this, so this is why they do this. But with
Hmm.
your partner, when they break a boundary, you have to navigate around your feelings. You have to regulate your feelings. You have to choose to say, do I still want to work with this person so they heal and they don't step on this boundary again?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that's where I would say the whole expectation thing comes in again, because we expect things that we don't communicate about, especially things like healing in a relationship.
Hmm.
And people don't want to be other people's healers today, because of
Hmm.
how social media is saying that you need to jump into a relationship that's perfect for you. There's nothing perfect that you don't build. Everything
It's
that
all
we build,
work.
exactly. So for it to be perfect, and you have to keep on working it, and that's a choice. That's a
Hmm.
discipline.
Feeding
Now,
each other's childhood traumas, healing each
imagine I'm
other's
having
childhood
this
traumas. Yeah.
imagine I'm having this discipline of saying I come back home at 7 o'clock and I know that my woman loves the kitchen and I need to take my shoes off when I step into the kitchen
Hmm.
and then greet her and greet the kids and sit there. But today she feels like I should be hugging it and holding it, but she's not communicating it.
Now
So
it's
I'm
like, why are you
consistent yet,
taking off your shoes instead of hugging
I'm
me?
consistent yet I'm expected to be somewhere I should be just
With
randomly.
minds
The biggest
spontaneous.
problem.
Be spontaneous. Be
The only
spontaneous.
thing, the only thing that's spontaneous in relationships is intimacy that is triggered. This is one thing I think people get to miss. When you touch my shoulder, how I respond is being spontaneous, but you triggered it. So there's no spontaneous me just getting home and say, okay, let me. I want to be spontaneous. At that time, you don't feel like being spontaneous. Then what happens? So that stops
We at
me from being
crossroads.
spontaneous. Yeah. So tomorrow I'll be like, maybe she's still feeling this way, and that's when you're like, no, be spontaneous today. If you don't communicate it,
True.
so I would rather say people should have rituals of saying, on Thursday we are having a spontaneous day. We're
Mm.
doing anything and everything goes on that. Sorry, on that day, anything. And then we know that on Thursday you don't know what to expect. I
Yes,
could be
and you're
coming back with
preparing and you're
flowers.
prepared. Yeah.
Exactly. So you also get to appreciate the loving that I'm giving, because the also thing that we don't communicate is how do we want to be loved? Because if I know how you want to be loved and I give you that love, you are able to say, I appreciate you doing this. But we don't communicate. We talk of love languages, but we don't break it down as to my love language is this. And when you're given that love, you see it
Mm-hmm.
and you mention it and it's appreciated. So now I know how to give it to you. However,
Mm-hmm.
people don't even communicate how they want to be loved. Some people
True.
don't even know
How they want to be loved.
how they want to be loved.
They don't even know how
So,
to love themselves, to be honest.
I always say the first part of loving self is discipline. If you can discipline yourself to something and say this is how you're going to treat it and be consistent to it, that from there loyalty comes up, because loyalty helps you to sort of I would say put sort of circles on things and boundaries on things to say, when I'm stepping to this boundary, this is how I have to carry myself. When I step into this boundary, this is how, even though people may not see those boundaries, but you know that when I step into this space, and that makes you loyal to all these circles that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
So when a person comes into your life and you choose to be with that person, you know that you put a circle to that person to say, this is my relationship, this is the boundary. And you become loyal to that, and your consistency becomes a discipline. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, your partner also gets to learn how to respond to your traumas, the conflict, the stresses, the
Yeah, not
hustle,
to
and
trigger
everything.
each other. Yeah. I like when you say that planning. I really like the planning thing. It reminded me of something I saw that Titimba does with his daughters. And I remember saying that to my partner that I want to do this, and I want to do it as a family. He starts with his daughter. He says, what are we committing to this week? And when I saw that, I was like, this is such an incredible thing, not just for your children, but generally, we will. And when I told him about it, he goes, how about if we do it on Sundays where we sit down as a family and we speak about what we're trying to commit for this week? So between me and you, we know what we're committing this week. Between me and us and the kids, we know what we're committing this week and what the kids are committing to this week. And I'm like, I really liked seeing that Titimba having such positiveness on social media, and it also made me realize that committing into things and building that also within our own children creates that navigating of love, creates that discipline that you're talking about. And like the way you're putting it now, I'm also seeing it differently, that maybe, yes, I should put my expectations aside. Maybe it is a female thing. Maybe it could be a male thing also, because males do not communicate as well also to say, I would like this and this and this. I like when you cook this, or whatever the case might be. So you are right. Maybe partners and couples, we urge you to sit down and plan your week, what you want to do, how you want to do it, your date nights, your massage days, your let's vent day. Let's vent
Because
about,
what that
yeah.
because what that also creates, it creates it creates the knowing how to love your partner and being able to appreciate and even tell them or see when they, if I don't know how I want to be loved and I say my love language is food, but I'm not specific, and then you cook me spinach out of love and I don't like spinach, I won't be able to say, wow, that spinach was nice, I enjoyed it. So I'm not now foiling your love. Instead, after we eat, just then I wash dishes and say, thank you for the meal. And then
Hmm.
we just sit down.
You better
It
be
gives you
grateful for
that,
that meal.
yeah. No, it gives you that thing. Yeah, he is grateful, but I don't think he saw exactly what I was communicating with him. I was saying to him, I love him today. But if I say, I love food, especially this and this, when I see that on my plate, I see that today my partner is being intimate. My partner is being intimate with just the food. So she took time. And that's where I get to say, I see your love and I
Hmm.
appreciate it, and may I find a way to grow it or reciprocate it. So that's where we get to also lag. We would start creating these expectations. However, they are just general expectations. I think as human beings, they are just general expectations that, yes, we live in the so-called patriarchal world, whereby I'm expected that when I get home, I need to see the kids, spend time with them, especially play with them because that helps them, with oxytocin. It raises, the mom gives them a form of sort of a discipline, and then the father gives them a way around the discipline of how to have fun. And that gives them sort of a little bit of freedom. So I'm expected to do that. And I don't want to say naturally, but that's how things have been. And you are expected that when I get home, there's a home meal, you took care of certain things at home. And where you need help, you communicate because this is where we also miss it. We don't communicate where we need help. We are expecting that the partner would see that I need help. If I don't see it heavy, I don't think that you
Come
need
on, that's
help.
common sense. That is common
But now,
sense.
but now imagine I don't see you picking something heavy. In my head, everything around you is in your way, so you don't need my help. For you to open that jar of pickles, I know that it's hard, so you're gonna call me. But you don't say, today I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling exhausted, my hormones. Can you please just prepare the vegetables while I prepare that? However, you want me to just, smell it in the air. No, she's not okay.
Yes,
Let me help with
because
this.
it's common sense. Why don't you like today? Would you like some help? What's so hard about saying today? Would you like some help? Just out of the blue.
Because,
Be
because,
spontaneous.
because 80% of the time, when a man asks a woman, would you like me to help you? The first answer that comes is no. And then
Do I look like I'm
tomorrow,
struggling to do what I do all the time?
not even that. Let's say they're just gentle and kind partners, right? The man would ask today, do you need it? Is there anything I can help you with? No, Han, I got it. Tomorrow, can I help? No, Han, I got it. And then Friday, she says, you keep asking me this. You don't see where you think you need to help? No, I don't. That's why I'm asking.
It's
So
common
that
sense.
it's common sense within women, or personal common sense is not the same as the next person.
True.
If I'm
True.
if I'm making up the bed and you ask me if you can help me, I'll say yes, because after making the bed, I just want coffee and to sit down.
Yeah.
However, when you're making up the bed, I ask you, would you like me to help you with anything? You say, no, it's fine. You make the bed, you come find me sitting with coffee, and you say, can you please make me coffee too? Why didn't you say at the time when I was asking you? So
Because
these
at
are the
that time
expectations.
I did not think of having coffee.
You see, at that time, I can't fit that time. It's gone. It would be nice of you to kindly ask and say, can you please make me a cup of coffee? Not how I was expecting a cup of coffee like you do. That's what I do. That's not what you do that after making the bed. So we have those, I do this, he does that. So I expect her to do as I do. However, she's a different person. That's why I chose her so that she gets to help me where I'm lacking so that we get to sort of like fit in perfectly. Now, because of expectations, when I move left, I'm expecting her to move left. And she has a mind of her own. She's smelling roses on the right. And she'll say, hey, I'm coming back. I'm just going here. I'm like, but I expected you. So it's communication that we
It
that
is,
we
it is. And I feel like just generally, even, putting communication aside, like just hearing you speak about it, I wanted us to wrap up, and I hope we can actually do a part three of this because I feel like there's just so much. Um, so much that we can talk about, maybe even have a third person for part three. Then we can have it as a round table, and have a discussion. Like, besides it being communication, one thing you just made me realize is that, like you said, as women, that's why even when we talk to each other as friends or sisters, whatever, we get to understand it. Oh, but oh, why didn't you do that?
yeah.
Oh, because we are of the same gender. When you then come back and say, but I don't know. I think you can carry that. It's not heavy, or I think you can open that, you don't need me. How we are so different, and yet when we in so much distress, we forget that we are two different species trying to actually just exist and build something together. Instead, we navigate trying to be this one wholesome thing instead of appreciating each other's flaws and each other's indifferences, and then trying to find the common ground to navigate love. Then that's the reality. Navigating love is that's the reality. And I liked when you say that, but I feel there's so much we have to speak about, and I think we have to end it. And we will come back with part 3. I think we need to really break it down. And this time I think I really want to understand the psyche of men. I think it will help a lot of women. It will help me also as a female, because you really touched on points where I've never thought about it. Or it can also be us being selfish, where generally with me, it's the same thing as common sense. Come on. You're grown up. We're adults. Come on, whereas generally your brains as males act differently towards us women. And I'm also getting to see that even in raising a teenage son, that some things you constantly saying it, and to him it's like, why should I be bothered? It doesn't bother me. If it doesn't bother me, why is it bothering you? Type of thing. So I'm getting to also understand that in seeing a young man grow, that what I expect and what bothers me does not bother him. So why am I bothered about things that don't bother him? Like, it's my room, it's smelly, it's untidy. You don't sleep in there. So why are you bothered about that room? You sleep in your room where it's clean and tidy and. So I want us to end it here, Len. Thank you so much for jumping onto the podcast. And I can't wait for part 3. Hopefully you'll have time and make time for us to sit down and have this conversation. And I hope we get a third guest, or a second guest, since I'm the host, so we can then dissect the psyche of men. And I don't know if we should make it up. I think we'll say navigating love versus reality through the eyes of men.
In closing this part, I just want to say that consistency is created through planning, and execution of plans is based on discipline. So without planning, there is no consistency. Yes, we may be spontaneous, but we also need to discuss that spontaneousness within the schedule, so that one gets to understand that today will be spontaneous. So what are my options, and what am I open to? So then we know how to navigate through all the expectations and the communication, because I'm not to communicate in a certain way at a certain time. I have to evaluate that. So even when we're planning, discipline comes in, because we can plan to talk about something today. We're talking about money today. No matter how angry you may be, you need to take your mind out of that anger, and then we talk about money, because now we're in a space where we're building. So when we plan it, then we can execute it only when we're disciplined to do that.
I like that. I like that wisdom. I really like it. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, remember, love is a beautiful journey with its ups and downs. Join us next time for part 3 for more of these heartfelt conversations on Unspoken Truth. We will be having yet another guest, so we can have a wider open discussion in the eyes of males, in the perception of males. So stay tuned. Until then, take care of your hearts. Love and light to you all, to my Spoken Truth family. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.